Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Today, we're talking about Christopher. He is an employee who came into HR's office and let them know that he was diagnosed with a chronic migraines, and the migraines are unpredictable and they're triggered by stress and bright lights and prolonged screen time. Christopher said when a migraine strikes, he experiences really intense pain, nausea, and sensitivity to light and sound, which makes it difficult for him to concentrate or perform his work at times. He's told HR that he's having an issue to complete his work in a timely manner on the days that he has a migraine because he needs to look at a screen for most of the day. He works in an office with bright overhead lights. Other people are in close proximity, and that talking loudly can impact him. Christopher provided a doctor's note saying that he could leave work anytime. So that means ongoing as needed, unpredictable, intermittent leave from 8 to 10 times a month. 5, 10, that's almost 2 weeks a month due to his migraines. If he's going to be gone 2 weeks a month, that's 50% of his time. He said that if he does need to leave, he's willing to work from home to complete his duties, but that working in the office is too much. Of course, we don't know how he can work from home on a computer screen when the screen is part of the challenge. He certainly can control the lights and the sound, but we don't know if he can work at home enough to be able to actually perform his tasks. And we're not confident at this point that we understand what his job requirements are, that it would even allow him to work from home without causing an undue hardship in the office for whatever reason. That telecommuting may or may not be appropriate. Does this seem like this could cause a undue hardship? If you have an employee who's only able to work 50% of the time, they will be exhausting their FMLA leave. Now, they can use those first 12 weeks for ongoing as needed intermittent leave for their migraine. And what we'll be doing is documenting during that time, because they're probably taking 2 weeks a month. So that's going to be about 6 months before they exhaust. And then at that point, we're going to be transferring from FMLA to the American with Disabilities Act. And the question is, are they able to perform all the essential functions of the job at a meets expectations level with that amount of leave? And I can tell you on its face, it appears unreasonable to me, because if I'm going to need to provide an employee ongoing as needed, unpredictable leave for 50% of the month on average, I now have a permanent part-time employee, and that would be an undue hardship. Actually, it would be unreasonable. We could evaluate whether they are able to perform those functions at home. Keep in mind, though, when you have a migraine, you're already impacted. So if you're leaving because you have a migraine and you're trying to work from home, would you be able to be productive from home with that migraine? We might be able to verify that if the position itself allows for telecommuting. But if the position itself doesn't allow for telecommuting, then that would be unreasonable to even require or request an employee to be able to telecommute from home. So we have to look at the validity of telecommuting as a reasonable accommodation, or documenting that it would be an undue hardship for whatever reason. Then we'd be looking at whether the ongoing as needed unpredictable leave under the ADA would be unreasonable on its face. And in general, that pretty much is, because we expect employees to be there when they need to be there. And ADA is a work regulation, everybody. It is not a leave regulation. FMLA is leave. So when you've used your ongoing as needed unpredictable leave under FMLA, the question is, are you able to perform all, not some, all the essential functions of the job with that accommodation? Meaning, if you're a full-time employee and you even need to have 25% of your time gone, not working, you're not a full-time employee anymore. If that job requires you to work 40 hours a week and you can only work 30, you're not performing all the essential functions of the job. Unless, in fact, the job doesn't really need you to be a full-time employee, and it really is you're underemployed and you are able to get your work done in half the time, and it's not a full-time job. which would be the thing I'd be asking supervisors if they say an employee can be gone 25% of the time and still get their work done. How's that work? So those are all the detailed issues that you look at when you're determining whether a valid amount of time would be a reasonable accommodation as leave under the American with Disabilities Act, which is a work regulation. And just as a caveat, just to remind everybody, if you're dealing with someone who is pregnant, the Pregnancy Workers Fairness Act does not require the employee to perform all the essential functions of the job at a meets expectations level. We will want them there to perform what they can. And then if leave is not an undue hardship or unreasonable, then we would allow them to take leave under the ADA if their FMLA has been exhausted, and then allow them to come back to work. But that is different because it's Pregnancy Workers Fairness Act. When it's not Pregnancy Workers Fairness Act, the employee needs to be able to perform all the essential functions of the job at a meets expectation level, or they're not a qualified individual with a disability. Hope that helps everybody. Thanks for joining us today.